let's talk a little bit about the difference between the NAIA and the NCAA. We've hit on a couple points here. Pat, you brought up that there's really no restrictions at the NAIA level, something that we talked about. But what else are some of the differences in terms of like the contact periods? I know it's different, where the NCAA has maybe more restrictions in place for D1, D2s. Again, NAIA schools, coaches, they have a little bit more freedom when it comes to the recruiting process.
For sure. The NAIA level is kind of like the wild, wild west. What I mean by that is it gets started early, like I touched on earlier, compared to the NCAA, when it comes to D1, D2, D3. I would take advantage of that, like I mentioned as well. Junior year comes around. We're not talking to any schools. That should be a good point to start making contact via questionnaires, emails, things like that. Consider the NAIA an option. I know in my personal recruiting process, I didn't know the NAIA was a thing. You guys have us here at NCSA. You guys have trusted sources. You guys have the information. Use it. Explore all levels. It doesn't mean that you can't play D1, 2, or 3 or JUCO level, to say the least. But definitely look at all 5 levels because NAIA, like we've touched on, is a really good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kyle, again, the advantage for the NAIA is there's some different things in terms of having a signing period, in terms of the dates and deadlines. Again, that's a big difference between the NAIA and the NCAA. Is that it gives coaches an advantage because, again, these schools maybe aren't as coveted as some of the Division I's and Division II's, but again, the flexibility that coaches have at an NAIA level is a big difference than the NCAA.
Yeah, they have a much better opportunity to get to know a student athlete. And even though that NAIA schools may end up signing student athletes a little bit later into the process, that doesn't mean they're not having contact. That doesn't mean they're not building relationships with student athletes throughout the 3-4 years leading up to that. The NAIA does not limit the number of campuses a student athlete can visit, which allows them to visit as many campuses as they feel necessary to determine what programs are going to be the right fit for them. They're not restricted by those recruiting rules and calendars like we talked about. They have much more freedom to connect with student athletes and build those relationships over the course of 4 years. And so that's something that we hear a lot talking with student athletes and parents and families, is that we want to have a really good relationship with the coach. We want to feel really good about the program. We want to feel comfortable about where they're going. And so NAIA, again, is a great opportunity for that, because you can start visiting these schools and talking with these coaches freshman year. You can start getting to know them and figuring out if they're going to be a right fit before you have to sign that national letter of intent, before you have to sign on with a school. You can have all these things sorted out and get a lot of practice in talking with NAIA coaches and schools leading up to that process. It's also great leverage with NCAA schools and other schools in general, just to get the best scholarship opportunity for yourself. So again, there's no downside to looking at the NAIA. It's only going to give you more opportunities and more options to put your student athlete in a position for success by the end of their recruiting process.
NAIA is going to be maybe less strenuous than a Division I, Division II program, maybe more free time to kind of balance your life as a student athlete. Talk a little bit about that for families. Again, it's comparable to maybe a Division III level in terms of it maybe not being as full-time of an agenda as a student athlete.
Yeah, when we're talking NAIA versus NCAA, you nailed a couple things on the head. Potentially you're going to get more playing time. It may not be as competitive as a top-level D1 program. So you might have an opportunity to come in and play on that team right away, whereas if you're going to a Division I school, you may have to sit the bench for a couple of years. You may have to redshirt. You may be playing behind quite a few other athletes. You're going to have more free time, like David said. You're going to have more time to focus on your studies, and that's something that we hear from parents regularly, daily, if not that much, that they want to make sure their student athlete has time to focus on their academics as well. Most people aren't going to go on to be a professional athlete after college, so they want to focus on their studies. Less time traveling. That's one of the most difficult parts for being a college student athlete, is doing homework on buses, doing writing papers while you're traveling across the country. Very difficult. As far as just like the recruiting aspect goes, when you're talking about NAIA versus NCAA, there aren't any recruiting restrictions. As a freshman in high school, you can start communicating with NAIA coaches right away. On top of that, they still have athletic scholarship opportunities like which we've talked about, and in some cases, better scholarship opportunities. Baseball is a great example, like Coach Pat O'Malley talked about. There are 12 athletic scholarships for a fully funded NAIA program versus an NCAA Division I program only has 11.7 scholarships. So NAIA schools, should you consider them? Yeah, do consider them, because they're great opportunities to get your education and use sports as a way to get that school paid for.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Click the logo to subscribe to our channel and check out all the other videos on our page for all things recruiting.